So what do we have next? Oh yeah, Gen Z are being useless again.
Oh, well, nothing new.
Surprising.
No, not really. Gen Z's latest push for less work with Bare Minimum Monday, also known as Get Fired Tuesday.
Yeah. That is the thing that annoys me most about these fucking kids. And I know I'm fucking part of this generation, but fuck it,
You're not part of that
even gonna view these
generation, you
people as
dickhead.
Yeah,
Fuck's sake.
you're not under like 23, Trim.
You're a
Oh my
millennial,
God.
Trim.
I'm close enough. People have called me a Z.
You're not. You're You're not
Hey,
even
I've had
remotely
the
close.
weirdest discussions with the weirdest of people.
Shit,
So don't...
Trim, if you were a couple of years older, you'd be in Gen X with Bleach.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
I'm actually technically a millennial.
Oh.
Hey.
Well, there you go.
Suck that,
I'm actually Gen X.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, I knew one of you was Gen X, but I couldn't remember if it was Bleach or if Ardent was a boomer.
Yeah.
No, I'm not a boomer.
No, that's
he
rude.
boomers his audio.
He's physically Gen X, but mentally a boomer. Disco says Trim is not a kid. Old man Trim.
Yes. Well, actually, I am a very old man. I am mentally demented.
not a Robert Cat. He thinks Trim is 56.
Back in my day, little shits like you.
Well, see, when you're using the metric age
kick
system,
all over the place.
when you're using the metric age system, then yes, Trim is 56.
If you count Trim's age in frog years or something.
No, ginger years, actually.
That would make me ancient. Well, in ginger years, I'm fucking immortal.
No.
Yes.
Disco says his beard is not actually ginger, it's white.
You will not know about my secret. I have sent assassins.
Just count yourself.
Little known fact.
Trim's going to go bald from his beard first.
Oh.
That's the kind of curse you should never wish on another man.
Wow.
No.
I'd much rather fucking lose my hair in my head instead of my
that's
fucking
okay.
beard.
I've met
No,
women
you
who
don't.
could do with that curse.
Oh, dear God.
I mean,
So,
actual women too.
There is a thing with fat women in Vermont and most all of New England, and they all seem to have copious amounts of facial hair, but they're still definitely biological women.
Maybe it's all the steroid treatment in the water.
Probably.
I mean,
It was just
not unlikely.
going around. It's like, oh, she's a sturdy woman. Oh, look at her mustache.
Adam, when you say gingers have souls, you mean that's because they've stolen them from other people?
Well, they have shoes.
Oh, Lord.
You son of a
It's not
bitch.
stealing, it's reclaiming for the Dark Lord. Come on.
Right. So now that we've figured out,
Right.
so now that we've figured out that Trim is mentally part of the Silent Generation, what are Gen Z? What's that joke?
What is this stock photo?
Really bad. So Gen Z don't seem to want to work hard on a Monday, with Bare Minimum Monday being the new trend pushed for by them. Holy shit, who wrote this? That's a sentence. Gen Z, different people, they don't really want to work that hard on a Monday, a bit tough after a weekend. Bare Minimum Monday is the idea. Oh, fuck off. I had to get up and go to school on Mondays. Shut the fuck up.
Work for your money. Of course, they can have shorter work days and less work and all that shit, but they will get less pay.
Well, that's the problem for them, isn't it? No one wants to pay them more to work less.
Yeah. I really am starting to think, because this is a reflection of the generation of Western society post World War II. Yeah, it started with the boomers, and when they started having kids, and so there's Gen X, and it went from the boomers' parents, the silent generation, say, "Oh well, we don't want to, we don't want to make our kids have to suffer the depravities we did during the Great Depression."
Oh, you mean the
Well,
silent generation who could raise a family and buy a house on one person's wage?
Yeah, yeah, and I think that combined with, so the hippies come along and they're just like the free love bullshit and don't trust anybody over 30 and all that. Well, now that they're the ones that are in their 60s and up, like, oh wow, we gotta maintain control. So what do? They manipulate the younger generations while trying to stay in power, to be like, yeah, no, don't trust your parents. It's like, yeah, but they're the youngest generation's parents are the kids that the boomers had, who also lived a very soft lifestyle.
Yeah,
So,
and unfortunately,
I think it's generational, stealing of work ethic.
There does seem to be a lot of pulling up the ladder behind you over the last several generations.
Oh yeah,
all except maybe the silent generation have pulled the fucking ladder up behind them.
Yep.
Boomers did it to Gen X. Gen X have done it to Gen Y. Gen Y is doing it to the Zoomers, and the Zoomers are just killing themselves en masse and cutting their tits off, so they can't reproduce anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it's a damn shame, because and it's funny, not funny per se, but some of the, like friends of mine, and they had young kids, and I got to, for some reason, they looked at me as a mentor figure for some of them. I don't understand why, but a lot of them they fell into two camps, watching these kids grow up. The ones who had a work ethic really heavily instilled in them, and the ones who just skated by. And those that are skating by, now that they're in their early adulthood, they're lost. I mean, they're totally lost, and there's just they have very poor senses of morality, and work ethic, and all these other things, because they weren't the kids who were told, hey, go out and play.
Well, it's also the critical failure of the modern education system with the nobody's allowed to be a failure stuff. If not working at all gets you approximately the same result as working your ass off, well, there's only one logical fucking conclusion. Why would you fucking bother?
And
problem is, 20 years later, you end up in the real world.
And incapable of functioning. Because I look at, I'm myself, and I say, oh, well, I was at, like, the leading edge of a lot of this, participation trophy kind of bullshit. And I look at how I viewed that then versus now. And, I went through quite a renaissance in my early to mid 20s. And it was like, everybody was made to feel special. We got rid of grammar. That was a big thing. And
read and write and arithmetic.
Yeah, and that blew my mind. I actually had, and it comes out quite a bit, I had to teach myself grammar in, like, 10th grade, because I did not, I had no foundation.
Yeah,
my primary schooling years.
I found similar things when I was in school. It's like, why the fuck are we doing weird poetry bullshit that's never going to help us in life at all, ever, under no circumstances at all, when half the fucking class is functionally illiterate?
Yeah. Yeah. And what drove me nuts, especially with that, is I was always a avid reader of things that were not assigned. And so it's like, oh, well, here, go read Silas Marner. It's like, well, I don't want to read fucking Silas Marner. It's a miserable book written by miserable people. Here, let me go read War and Peace by Tolstoy. I could get into that shit.
Oh, now there's a book and a half.
Oh, that's a lifetime and a half of reading. I don't know if I ever finished it, but I got into it.
Does anyone
Well-
ever finish War and Peace?
No, well, when you die, yes.
Just like Tolstoy.
But yeah, I'm just absolutely horrified by the disservice that parents are doing to these kids because I remember getting kicked out of the house I'd come home from school, I'd do my homework, and then I would be sometimes physically thrown out of the house to go play in the yard or do something outside.
Yep.
I remember those days.
Yep.
And
Likewise.
an ex-girlfriend of mine, she we were talking years later, and she has two young ones, and she is terrified of letting those kids just go play in the backyard unsupervised.
Seriously?
And
Maybe
Yeah.
you shouldn't have decided to vote to bring the entire third world and their third world attitudes over.
well, I mean, she lives in a predominantly white suburban neighborhood,
Uh-huh.
but it was just one of those. Why aren't your kids at 5 and 6 running throughout the neighborhood and being holy terrors like we used to be?
Hello.
And
Hello.
Hey, Dinko.
speaking of a holy terror,
Hello. I just wanted to add to what Bleach was saying that, parents don't want to let the kids out anymore. But even in cases where parents do want to let their kids out, and a friend of mine, and I'll not name him, but he was saying that his kids are, I think they're like 7, 8 kind of age, and they play in the street. He lets them out and he's like, go and fuck off, play in the street. And the neighbors actually contacted him and was like, your child was unsupervised in the street. Like, they're curtain twitching. So even parents that do want to let their kids out, other parents are sticking their nose in and basically saying it's not appropriate.
Dicks.
That's
Oh,
like
good
the old
lord.
lady
Yeah.
that was complaining about the little girl dressed in pink there a while ago.
yeah,
Mind
something like that. But
fucking
even
business.
just letting your kids play in the street, like nosy neighbors are twitching their curtains.
mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's like kids aren't allowed to be kids, and the sad part is, a lot of that energy, curiosity, and fuck uppery would get burned out of kids by going outside and playing by the time they reach say 13, and one of the other results that we see are like fucking Mizzy. If terrible example, but that kind of generation where it's like, yeah, let's go, do all these horrendous things because we've not learned consequences of our actions at age 13.
And we haven't been shown productive diversions either.
Yeah. I mean, if I ever have kids, I would rather them run around the backyard with a shovel and make little ponds and run the water hose like I
Shit,
did
if
as
I was a
kid.
parent, I'd rather have the two boys in the backyard beating each other with the shovel. It's good for them. It builds character.
I do kind of think that Mizzy is I mean, you're probably right in that, but he's also a product of growing up on social media, where everything is for likes and clicks and clout, and you're not worth anything if you're not getting the likes and the views. And it's bad enough for us as adults. Like, we want the likes, and Bezic and I, well, I think all of us do YouTube, and we're like, more views, more likes, more comments. Imagine
Number
growing
go
with
up.
that.
Number go down.
Oh, yeah.
No. Yeah, imagine.
People to work with
I imagine not learning to pretend to be a functional adult before you started dealing with that shit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You
Oh, yeah.
grow up on social media. They're not supposed to be on there till they're 13. Most of them are. They grow up watching famous YouTubers or TikTokers or whatever it is think, yeah, I can do that.
Well,
Like, yeah, TikTok, there have to be more and more and more outrageous to just get the attention in the first place, because you get lost on YouTube and TikTok if you just plugging away at it. You have to go viral. You have to be outrageous. So no wonder you've got kids coming up and doing things like what Mizzy's doing.
Well, Mizzy's the perfect storm of degenerate culture, lack of responsibility as part of that, guaranteed to be from a single mother family, useless schooling system, piss weak policing system, and everything we've said about social media.
Yeah.
And while I want him held accountable, in some ways I don't fully blame him.
Well,
Because
I can understand how he is led astray, but he needs to be held accountable. If only so that we can point to him and go, you think you want to go fucking viral, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's
Oh, yeah.
understandable how he's come to the conclusions that he's come to. That doesn't mean it's acceptable, and that doesn't mean that he should
No.
get off lightly. But it's understandable how he got there and how other teenagers get there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know,
Imagine
we've all been teenagers. We've all
Have
been
we?
in that wanting to fit in.
I think I hatched fully formed.
I mean, I was an only child and had no friends close to my age until I was in my late teens. So I get the hatched part.
I'm just dropped off
I'm
from
a-
my home planet, fully grown. That's what-
Okay,
you're
so
drop off from school.
the autism percentage of this podcast is what, about 87? 87%?
I don't know.
Hey, don't
That's a
look
bit
at me. I don't
low.
even know my own age.
This is a bit low, but are you sure? Have you done the calculations?
No,
correct?
Trim's just retarded.
Yeah.
The thing is, I won't even defend myself against that because
You couldn't, right?
Can't you remember what generation you are? And they've all seen the video.
Honestly, I thought you meant the
Millennials?
generation
Gen
I was
Y?
from, because there's
Is this
there's
like 3/4 trim?
there's we don't talk about the 3/4. But yeah, basically there are people in my generation too. They're basically people who are spearheading this kind of thinking, and it is just it makes me frustrated because these people have never worked a day in their life, or they worked a single day, and it terrified them to a point where they just can't even function like human beings.
This is how you get perpetual students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
And-
people who've never stepped foot outside of a university. Like, we're talking people who are in their late 20s. You know, they did high school, they went on to university, they did their degree, they then did a master's, and then they went on to do a PhD, and then they fall out into the real world, wonder why they can't get a job. I must be overqualified. And it's like, mate, it's because you've got zero experience in the real world. You've just lived your entire life up until this point in a classroom.
Mhm. I look at a friend's ex-wife, and she started out as a veterinary assistant, then went back, became basically a midwife for preemies. Then she got her general nursing, and then she went and became a counselor, and now she's getting her psychology PhD. She is 37. While she's held real jobs, it's only for like 3 to 5 years before she goes back to school. And she would change jobs almost every year during those times she was employed. And my friend's wondering why his marriage dissolved. It's like, she was nuts because she couldn't figure out what she was.
One of the other problems is the erasure of the teenager job.
Yes.
What jobs can you throw a bored 16-year-old at these days? It's about McDonald's.
Yeah. And even then, you've got so many fucking illegals taking those jobs.
Mm-hmm.
That,
Or just
Yeah.
migrants in general. 27-year-old
Now, now you're saying
Ahmed
that,
from
actually.
Shitfuckistan.
Funny
Yeah.
you
Well,
should
just
mention
the last
the
time I
McDonald's.
was. Go ahead, Trin.
Sorry. Funny you
No,
should mention the
no.
McDonald's thing, because there is a bunch of commercials now that
Well,
goes on where McDonald's is being honest about how it is to work on McDonald's. High pressure, high stress, and it's pretty much a little bit of hell. But they make it as sort of if you can handle this, you can handle anything in life. We're looking for young people who can handle stress, and it's like, hey, that's actually a pretty good commercial.
Yeah.
They're advertising it as a high stress environment, high pressure, and it's sort of seen as if you can handle this, then you're awesome, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of a challenge to everyone, and okay, I like that personally.
Well, one of the big problems is all your retail establishments are moving to one counter and half a dozen self-service options. So whereas
Yeah,
before you'd have half a dozen 16-year-olds, you've now got one 16-year-old and he's the manager.
Well,
It's going to be even worse if they ever figure out how to automate the Big Mac.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no, and well, that's the thing. That these damned wages are running around. Oh, we need $15 an hour. It's like, no, this is not a career. This is not a career.
And the problem with the $15 an hour thing as well is if you've got to pay $15 an hour, you're probably not going to hire a teenager.
Exactly.
Well, minimum wage here is now $15 an hour.
And drag their feet around the store and be like, oh, where do you want to?
Yeah,
You may as well just hire an adult if you got to pay that out.
well, yeah, and if you can hire an illegal immigrant, then maybe you don't actually have to pay them much at all.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even have to be illegal, though, Bleach. You can hire immigrants here, and the government will subsidize part of their wages, so you still don't have to pay minimum wage.
Oh, lovely,
Yep.
lovely.
Yeah.
Fuck Canada, the New
Yeah,
York
very
of the
much.
North.
Right in the ass.
Well, wasn't Canada the ones pulling this bullshit where, oh, we're going to put out all these subsidies for the Ukrainian refugees so they can get work? Meanwhile, the poor fucking unemployed Canadians.
Province.
Oh, just your
That
province.
was my province. It wasn't even the fucking country. Yeah, the country. Here's how fucked Canada is. Okay, there's a fish plant in Bay Verte, which is about 2.5-3 hours drive from me.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than hire any of the probably 200 or 300 men who are out of work in that town, they're going to have 150 ties shipped over for workers.
See, this reminds me of the farming thing over here where they were like, oh, the natives, they think they're too good to come over here and pick potatoes or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Or
it's the
fruit
lie
or
government
anything.
tells so they can subsidize.
And you're
slavery.
like, no, the natives, they all think they're too good. They won't take the jobs.
Well, we've got the
So we
same
have
bullshit
to
here.
Import migrants. We can give the jobs to migrants because the natives don't want them. And then there was a report in one of the papers where people had went for these jobs. Native people had went for these jobs,
Mhm.
but they're set up in such a way that they really don't suit anybody who actually lives here because half of the wage is accommodation on the farm. If you live here and you've got a family, you're not going to want to live on the farm for
Oh,
8
no,
months of the year. You just want a wage.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's absolutely the same problem we're having here. If you're already paying a lease, anywhere else in the country, and then you have to travel more than a feasible commute, like you might have to drive 4 or 5 hours to get to the farm if you're lucky. So that means you have to stay there, and then they're going to take half your bloody wages in accommodation. And somehow you're expected to still pay rent on the other place with that. And God forbid you want to pay, I don't know, save money, so you're in some way better off.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
yeah, these
no.
jobs were set up in such a way that it was perfect for somebody they'd imported because they're kind of paying them in half well, you can just stay on the farm, but that's half your wage because, I mean,
Yeah.
you would owe me rent and stuff.
Oh, and
But
it's
if
intentionally
you're a native citizen,
overpriced.
you don't really want that.
No, if you're a native citizen,
no.
you tend to want a permanent home. And that's the other...
But they're trying to say that, well, the problem was that the native citizens just thought they were too good to do the job, and therefore we'd have to hire migrants. And it's like, well, no, the problem was that the job was set up for migrants.
Well, the biggest
Yeah.
problem... It's not just migrants, or what we normally call a migrant here in Australia. It's backpackers. Like in Australia, you can get a 1 or 2 year working visa, and the job is set up specifically for them. Sorry, you come over here with a backpack, and you go to one of these jobs. What are your expenses? Maybe $30 for your mobile phone every fucking month? That's it. So they've got no expenses whatsoever on the half income. Meanwhile, an Australian citizen's got shitloads of expenses.
What gets me is, so the United States almost always, and this is like back in the 30s through say 70s before it became a real problem. We always used to have on the southern border, especially in California when they weren't nuts about agriculture, where Mexicans could come up. They would have a visa. They'd come. They would work for basically 6 months out of a year, and go and they'd fuck off back home.
Yeah, so same situation.
Well,
They've got
let's incentivize them to stay. Let's grow our tax base, and then it started. And that's where it all seems to stem from, is this tax base idea, where if you can get more people into the system, so that it's cheap labor, but they're still paying taxes. That's all they care about. They don't care about the impact on local communities. They don't care about industries actually thriving. And I'm really kind of done with this transient labor when a 16-year-old who could get paid perfectly well those same damn wages.
That's somewhere where America might have more success than Australia has, because it's a lot easier to grab a bored teenager and ship them off to a farm to work for the summer. You've actually, because you got, if media has led me correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys mostly just have one really long holiday, which I think actually was designed for the harvest season or something.
Yes. So basically, most kids, and they're trying to change this to year-round schooling, but basically from early June through mid-August throughout the United States, kids are home. They're not, they're working summer jobs. They're, doing all the things that, the rest of the world is like, oh, gee, well, just teach them year round. It's like, no, we have big breaks.
No, a summer job is far more useful, which is a problem that Australian kids can't get. We've got like a couple of 2-week holidays and then the Christmas holiday, which is whatever the fuck that is. It's been a decade, I don't remember. But they're not long enough to actually pull down a summer job. So you get people graduating school at 17, 18, and they're going, shit, what's this workforce thing you speak of?
Yeah, no, and I think there's an element of American culture where, I know people like to shit on us Americans, but let's be honest. I will say we Americans are culturally, on a whole, a lot harder working than the rest of the world. Now, we fuck up and are kind of retarded, but we're not going the slave wage bullshit like Chi-Coms are.
Yeah.
But we are used to be. Maybe that's the way I should frame this. We used to be one of the most hardworking cultures in the world, just because hey, you want to retire to the country and own that 5-bedroom farmhouse and all that. That was always our goal. And
well, that actually taps onto
murdered.
Another problem that was sitting in the back of my head that I wanted to bring up eventually. But you can't do that. You can't, if you are the average wagey, you cannot do that anymore because of just the way everything's gone tits up. A combination of corporate bullshittery, over-taxation, generic retardation, and HR bullshit. You can work for 50 fucking years and never save enough to pay for your own fucking funeral.
Yep. And that's a relatively new thing in the U.S.
Yeah, people want to keep talking about, birth rate's gone down, and looking to point the fingers at, women want to point the fingers at men want to point the fingers at women. Women look at the fact that nobody can afford a home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And for a bit, you could point to the fact that it was that it was largely due to the doubled workforce. You get you add, like in America, you add 70 million people to the workforce all of a sudden, and then act surprised when wages drop. But now it's
Well, that said, I don't think throughout history it's been that uncommon for women to be working.
no,
Now,
but it
granted,
was just
they often did different jobs to men, but they weren't housewives for much of history.
no, but I don't think there's ever been a time in history where the majority of the women worked jobs at a place other than their home. For most of history, women worked a side gig from home.
Mm.
I
But that said, there's probably been very few times throughout history where it's been kind of this kind of economy.
no.
Okay.
My point, the point I was getting to is there was a time when you could specifically look at it and go, you've doubled the workforce, therefore you've halved the individual wages. Which is why for a time in the 90s and early 2000s, you need 2 wages to raise a family. Well, obviously you double the workforce, you halve the wages. But over the last 10, 15 years, everything's gone completely fucking tits up. And even if you've got 2 full-time people, you can't afford anything. You can't afford, what the fuck happened to the 2-bedroom home and the picket fence and the 2.5 kids and the dog? Well, you can't afford to feed yourselves, let alone the pissing dog, on 2 people's wages.
God, I wish I could afford that.
Yeah, and
So yeah, to Disco's point about women working almost constantly in the past. Yes, but we were all mostly agrarian at that point, and just from a historical perspective, it was a very common thing for women to make the clothing, do the well, not the weaving per se, because weaving was considered a man's job, but spinning the wool and yarn and making all that.
yeah,
But
it is
family units were more self-contained in that they weren't having to do all these external expenses, where now everything's an external expense.
Yeah, it is accurate that the women worked, nearly all the women worked all the time, but it was a different relationship to the work.
It's just to debunk the idea that some people do seem to have in their heads that up until, say, like 1960, all women everywhere throughout history were housewives, and it's just like, actually, that was very small.
Well, that's the change of definition of what a housewife is. Like, yeah, a wife back in the 1600s, yeah, she probably did spend 6.5 days of the week at home, but not everything she was doing there was purely to the maintenance. Yeah, she'd also be doing the spinning, the knitting, the assorted cooking, the cleaning.
Yeah,
like a washerwoman was also someone else's wife, but she went out around and did the washing as well. All these assorted. Women were the original self-employed, practically.
Yeah, we really were.
Like for nearly all of history, women had side gigs. Like they did side gigs from home. They had an additional gig that they did from the home. Like when you're sitting there making sure the baby doesn't get eaten by a fucking wolf, you can do 1.5 million other jobs.
And that's not to say that you're not right about two people trying to go out and essentially be wage slaves.
That's the modern problem.
That's not good either, because then nobody is at home. Nobody can look after the children.
Yeah.
Like, no matter which of you it is, like, you want to have it the other way around, it doesn't really matter. You can't afford to have one parent at home.
Yeah, and you can't even afford to have the kid. Because it's even if both of you continue working, as soon as the kid comes along, well, someone needs to keep the kid alive when you're not there. And if you don't have a free grandma available, you've got to pay for childcare. And once you're paying for childcare, the entirety of one half of the couple's post-tax income is just done on childcare. So why the fuck would you work? You can either work and all your money goes on childcare, so you have no money left, and then the government also gets taxed, the bastards. Or you can go, fuck you, I'm going to look after the kid, in which case you still have no income from half the family. So,
and you have just again for perspective, like in these older agrarian societies, which we're only maybe 3 generations removed from at most for most of us. the women would specialize, so they would in a community, say some woman was really good at making dresses. Well, she'd start making those for the community and selling those as a sideline, and usually more in a barter system. So she was good at that, but maybe somebody else was really good at making cheese. So they would start trading amongst each other, and all that extra effort, all that extra time, air quotes, would be spent doing productive things to support the family, where, you know, the men, whether they were 8 or 80, would be out in the fields doing the hard work.
Yeah,
although women would often be out there at harvest time, because there's a famous woodcut of
everyone was out there at harvest time. If a kid was old enough to walk, here's a sickle.
It was like, here you go, bundle up things. But
yeah,
the big point is, I don't think we've evolved as a species to this new inflection point in our existence. But everybody makes this big deal about, oh well, we need to baby everyone, because otherwise they're not going to succeed. It's everybody is working all the time up until, say, the 1920s, and that's when you really get the idle rich not just being the massive landowners.
Yeah, there was that bit of time where you could just, where the idle, not so rich. Like, you didn't even have to be rich in the 1920s for you to have what's essentially would be now a trophy wife.
Yeah. I want one of those.
Well, one of the other... I want to be a trophy husband, damn it.
He physically wants to be a trophy green card husband.
Yes.
I mean, that's unfortunately a participation trophy.
Slightly attractive women in America with a lot of money. Call Bezic.
Slightly attractive women in America with citizenship.
Yeah.
He will service you for that.
Anybody want to pet Bezic?
Anyone, please? I'm begging you.
Please go good home.
You just need to feed me and take me for walks, and
He's a good boy, I promise.
And if you really insist, I will wear the collar.
No.
I think you've piqued Maureen's interest.
But Maureen doesn't have American citizenship. Sorry,
no,
Maureen.
But she's got a collar.
Oh dear. Sorry. One of the other thing I wanted to bring up as well was, you know, the old stereotype about how women just sit around and gossip. Like, think about how far that goes back. Like, that goes that was more of a thing before modern times. Because what do you do when you've got a kid and you've got some work to do and you're kind of bored? Well, all the women with kids gather round together, stick the kids in the corner, and occasionally look over and go, "You dead? No, cool, carry on," while they sit around doing work and talking. Like, you can have a dozen, 100 women sitting there spinning wool, like, especially with the drop bobbin thing. And, well, what the fuck else are you doing with that time? You're talking. And probably arranging, going, "Oh, your son likes this, and, well, what about such and such's daughter?"
Yeah. I have violently objected to modern dating, mostly along the lines of there are no social activities in a community.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually started dying out in the 60s in the United States, where the community would basically be like, yep, couples, singles come together, but we'll kind of designate who's single and available, where nowadays it's like, oh, you're single and you're past 25, go fuck yourself. It's like, thanks. Because there used to be, and this is off in the weeds, with some of these dances, like, in 18th century Germany, a single male and single female would have kind of like this before a community dance would start. Like you kind of talk to each other. The male would have a piece of bread, and if he broke off a piece and gave it to a young woman he was interested in, she would either eat it if she was not interested, or she'd put it in her pocket if she was. So there was that icebreaker moment where you didn't have to go and overly embarrass yourself and all that, but you could figure out who was interested in you in your community.
See, I'd probably get confused and eat the bread thinking it was for eating. Oh,
Yeah.
food.
Yeah. It is.
That relies on everybody knowing the code.
Yeah. Yeah, an interesting, something else interesting that does bring up as well, Bleach. Like a lot of modern idiots, especially feminists, will whine, "Oh, women had no power. Oh, arranged marriages." Who do you think was arranging the marriages? You fucking idiots. Yeah, that's
exactly.
right. It was the circle of women going, "You know, I saw your daughter and your son at the last dance, and I think they kind of liked each other." And then all of a sudden,
our families could benefit from this because you make ciders and we grow apples. Well, let's just merge this as a functional unit. And yeah, I am so pissed that we've gotten away from that sort of society. Mostly because I hate being single, but it's just like there used to be protocols that made sense, and maybe it wasn't a marriage purely of love. And I think that's a problem we have where it wasn't necessarily a business arrangement, but a couple would get together in the past historically because they liked each other and because they were compatible on a lot of levels and could bring out the best in each other, where now it's just like, oh, well, gee, I don't have the butterflies and whatnot because hot dude or hot chick doesn't like me anymore. So I'm moving on.
That's the problem, I think, more so with dating becoming like window shopping. Because, like, in the past, you did have a very small dating pool. Like, even if you're not talking arranged marriages, you were dating people in your village or you weren't dating.
Yeah.
Now, you could window shop online. You can travel to another city. You can window shop. It's so easy to just look for better. And this is both men and women. It's so easy to look and see what else is out there. What's better for me?
Well, that's it. Especially as you're saying, especially with
taking
especially
the
with
best that's available for you.
Especially with social media, like you can literally see 1 million women more attractive than any woman within 100 miles of you, and that alters your perception of standards.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something I really kind of hammer on, because given my position, but there was also, from my experience, a lot of single women in my age bracket, they have this weird objection to wanting to form a mutually nurturing relationship.
You can thank feminists for that.
I find that very disturbing. Oh yeah, I do animately and aggressively, but everybody kind of remembers, but not the context of behind every great man is a great woman.
And
And
people often now kind of see it as a transactional thing rather than, you kind of want to be with your best friend. You want to be each other's biggest fans.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily just a transaction. Well, you bring your genetics and I bring my money, and that's how a lot of people are looking at it now.
Yeah, it is. It's strictly a fiscal transaction. Where in the past, because I look at my parents even, and my mother was able to create a home environment where my father could go out and achieve and start his own business and do these other wild things where yes, my mother had to sacrifice, but to her the sacrifice was building up her husband.
She was behind him, cheering him on.
Yeah. And I don't see that like that used to be with that previous generation. It's like, no, we're going to compete against each other to see who has the biggest paycheck. And me personally, it's like, I don't care if if my future wife, if she ever out there, um, she earns more than me or I earn more than her. It's not about that. It's about
Supporting each other.
exactly. Yeah, is she going to be the best version of her that she could ever be, and vice versa, or are we stuck in this stupid loop of competing against each other and basically making each other miserable because it becomes a dick measuring contest rather than a, hey, we're making a better life for ourselves and any offspring.
And especially with the whole offspring thing, they can't, like modern people in general, because they've been led so astray by, my oppression narratives. They cannot wrap their heads around the dynamic. Well, someone needs to stay home to make sure the baby doesn't die, so it's probably best the one that can feed them, and someone needs to go outside and perform manual labor for 12 hours to make money, so it's probably best if it's the one that's a foot taller and has more muscle.
Yeah. I mean,
Strange.
yeah.
Strange idea.
I know, it's madness.
Yeah, I know. Shocking.
Imagine my shock.
But no, you've got all these weird social pressures pushing in the wrong way. With the way the economy's gone, the fact that you need more than two people's income to just to live, let alone raise a family.
Yeah, you don't even to raise a family. Like by the time because I mean, people are not buying houses on average because that's out of the question. But even rent, like you're paying what a mortgage would be in rent every month.
Or
then
more.
You know,
like
your taxes.
We're having a massive
before you've even thought about eating.
Yeah.
We're having a massive rental crisis here in Australia. Like some rents have gone up by 30 or 40%.
Good Lord.
Yeah. It's fucking mental. Like some people have gone from paying 300 a week to 400 plus. Shit, some have gone from paying 300 a week to having to leave because they've gone, we'll have 600 a week, thanks. And
wow,
some idiot is paying that. And it's going to get worse because the government wants to import 500,000 migrants in the next 2 fucking years to a country of 27 million.
Good Lord. Yeah, no, you don't need more people from outside who don't have your values, who don't give a damn about your country and your history.
And who give no shits about the economy because they're just there to get every cent they can out and they can just go home at any time.
Yeah, if the government wants to help bring up birth rates, you can berate men, you can berate women, all you want, but the way to do it is tax cuts for families.
Yes.
So if you've got, young couples living together, starting a family, you give them tax breaks. You only tax them as a unit instead of it's two individual people.
Yeah.
Help them buy homes.
Yep.
Well,
Get them in a stable position where they can both feel stable enough and afford to start that family, and you'll see the birth rate go up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sure, you'll still have your cranky feminists who will still screech and spend time with their cats,
but no one cares about
let them take themselves out of the gene pool.
Mm-hmm.
But for a lot of people, it's that they simply can't afford to do it.
Although I will always argue that being able to afford a family is not always a great excuse to not try.
No.
Yeah, but people are often they're not going to unless they're stable.
Right.
It's that idea of stability.
I can appreciate that, but there's a part of me that's just like, life is an unpredictable chain of events.
That's the thing. Like
why?
True, but even look in nature. If you don't have a good environment for pretty much any organism, you will see that the population, the numbers will drop because they won't breed.
And I get where you're coming from, Bleach, where you might, at some point, if you want kids, you need to go, you know what, it's not, just screw it, we're having the kids. But on the flip side, if you want your kid to go to private school, which they have to if you want them to keep their dick 18 years.
Yeah. Good God, yes.
So you've got to be able to afford private school at the bare minimum. Like, so there's a lot of money. Ideally, you need to be able to afford a home with at least 2 bedrooms. At least. God knows how much your income that'll take. Remember the old thing about, oh, don't spend more than 30% of your income? No, fuck off. Try 60.
Yeah, that is a valid. But I think everybody kind of gets where I'm coming from. It's like, yeah, I don't want people to hold themselves back trying to find the perfect solution, just a comfortable solution.
I mean, sure,
and that's the
you
problem.
physically have the kids.
The problem is, Bleach. A lot of people can't achieve a comfortable solution.
And here I am rambling around in my own home by myself. It's like, but you just no. I want this to be a vibrant space filled with me swatting the kids away while I'm doing a podcast.
Bleach. Are you?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Hey, Bleach. Are you saying you want to make that house a home?
Yes. Desperately. I've desperately wanted this house to be a home for like 12 years.
Yep.
Any woman with the ability to critically think and with a inhumanly long nose interested in having a date with Bleach?
Okay, leave the nose part out. I can make compromises.
So to start bringing this back towards the actual item in question, one of the other many problems.
There's an article in question?
Yeah, apparently. Someone just reminded me. No, one of the
article.
Yeah, one of the other many problems is modern workplace culture is absolutely fucked. Like, you can't join a company at 24 and retire from it in 50 years. That's just not possible anymore. And like a lot people keep banging on about job hopping, employee loyalty. How about you bastards show some fucking loyalty? How about you make, like, it doesn't have to be a great, fantastic, beautiful, perfect work environment, but can you at least make one that isn't soul crushing and suicide inducing?
Yeah, you get stuck in dead end positions, and companies will often hire outside people with experience over people with experience in the company. I have seen that a lot, where there's no career ladder within the companies themselves.
Well, especially when you consider that
train people up.
You need to take just about any job you
loyalty is something that's a foreign concept. I mean, I don't know of any company within my lifetime that has incentivized people to remain loyal and good employees, and thus, like, hey, yeah, you've been with us for 10 years. Instead of just, here's a damn watch, it's more like, here's some stock options, some extra investiture, yada yada yada. It's dead. That culture's dead.
Not to mention, a lot of jobs are just soul crushing. A lot of companies are pure evil. Like at my previous job, I got promoted 3 times in under 2 years, and what did I get for it? Treated like shit.
Just more responsibility. 50p more an hour.
Yeah, for fuck all more an hour. And here's the thing: I was on an above median wage for Australia by the end of my time there, and I still had no fucking money.
That is fucking tragic.
Well, no, it's predictable though.
Yeah. And that kind of ties into, people aren't putting in as much effort as well, why the fuck would they? You put in effort, you get promoted 27 times, and what exactly do you get in return?
Taxed more.
Exactly.
Yeah. Here's your new bracket, sir. Have fun with that.
More money. Oh wait, the government got more money. Yeah. My wage went up like 20 quid.
Yeah. I was paying $500 a fortnight in tax.
I'm not surprised.
On a 55 grand a year wage. It's fucking ludicrous.
It's retarded.
Wow.
It's not even just raise promotions.
Oh no, these promotions I'm talking about all had raises.
More money offered to you, you go up a tax bracket, and so your take home is almost nothing.
Potentially, yeah. like, I didn't have that particular problem, but yeah, it was such a pain in the ass. And like, companies, because the unemployment rate is, and no, I don't give a shit about the one the government uses, I mean the real one. The unemployment rate is approaching 20%. The companies give no shits. Like, I was working in a call center. There were new faces every fucking day.
Hmm.
People would burn out because it was a shit job with worse management, talking to the public.
Oof.
Yeah. Sad thing is, sometimes the public weren't the worst part of my day.
Occasionally.
Yeah. But no, you put in effort, you work hard, and you just get dicked around. Like, middle management are all insane. Because
Yeah.
add in a stupid woke HR departments. Add in fucking pronouns in your fucking email signatures.
Hmm.
It's utterly fucking mad. So corporate culture's just killed itself.
But yeah, that's another thing to take into account as well. Like job hopping. Now you've got to play around with company politics too, because you can't just go work and do a good job. No, you got to have the right thing as well for the company.
Oh yeah.
And for the people who are screeching at the company.
Yeah,
because you use the wrong pronoun on social media.
Yeah. Imagine being the autistic guy in the multinational call center company.
No, thank you.
I don't have to.
Ma'am.
Oh, Lord, the amount of times I got in trouble because it's like, no, I'm not doing that. Oh, but it's expected of people. Well, it's not in my employment contract, so kiss my ass.
And she felt really bad. This guy I used to work with, because he was one of these people. He's a little bit of an older fella, and he would call customers like sir or ma'am when he was serving them. He's like, "What can I get for you today, sir? Is that everything, ma'am?" And so he made the mistake one day. This woman came in and he says, "Well, thank you, ma'am. Come again." And she, how dare you?
Oh, he got a call from Greta?
Oh no! And like, it was clearly a woman. Like, she fucking had short hair. Well, no, it's clearly a fucking woman. She said, "You just assumed me." Oh my god! And it's like, he was just trying to be nice to you. Like, he was
That was his
genuinely
first mistake.
just trying to be nice. Like, he wasn't trying to misgender anyone or be horrible to anyone. He did with everyone who came through the door. He called them sir or ma'am because he thought that they would like to be referred to in that kind of formal way.
Mm-hmm.
He thought they would like to be respected?
Yeah.
Yeah, funny
And,
that.
oh my god, yeah, one of them kicked off. And he felt so bad because he did not mean to offend anybody. He was just trying to be nice. And he got kind of blindsided with it.
Oh,
Yeah.
poor guy.
It's mad. So, you've got these fucked up corporate cultures that don't reward you for doing more than the bare fucking minimum. So why would you do more than the bare minimum? Like, it's this bullshit that companies are coming out with quite quitting. Oh, it's doing no more than what you're employed to do. Oh, so you mean a job, you fuckwits?
Yeah.
If you do more than the bare minimum, all you get is more work piled on you.
Exactly. I finished my work. What reward do I get? More work.
More work.
So people instinctively go, okay, if I work hard, so you're sitting next to some dipshit who can barely do the fucking job, but for some reason they're not getting fired because they're a black, queer, Latino, transgender pumpkin.
Jesus.
Yeah, don't forget transabled.
Yeah, of course. In a wheelchair. Flying an Islamic flag. So you've got this idiot sitting next to you, of course, in your open plan office because you can't even afford a fucking cubicle wall. So you've got these idiots who are not getting fired, doing fuck all. And then, so if you do your work efficiently, you run out, and then you're either sitting there, not doing anything, so you get in trouble, or you ask for more work, and then you have to finish some other dickheads who's too fucking useless to do it themselves. So what do? You adjust the speed of your work, so you are despite the fact that you could do the same amount of work as the person next to you in half the time, you stretch it out. So not only are you achieving nothing, you're also bored out of your fucking mind.
Absolutely.
Which, for this collection of spurgs, is worse than death.
I've been on a job like that where, I mean, I was physically busy, but oh my god. It's just like I'm bored out of my mind. I'm so bored.
Yeah.
I could just like dismantle this place.
Yeah. Many years ago, I worked in a chicken packing factory. Literally folding chicken wings and sticking them in boxes for an entire shift. I was so fucking bored, I can't describe it.
It was one of the main reasons why I opted to go to university, because I was just like, I can't carry on with this, getting up every day to do something so boring.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us here will find that most tasks that absorb 100% of the average person's mind will only absorb, say, 80% of ours. So, like, what's an example? Something like data inputting. I haven't actually managed to get a job doing that, but, like, I assume it's the kind of job. Like, say it takes up 100% of the mind of the average person. For a lot of us unlucky bastards, it'll only take about 80% of your mind. So 20% of your mind's being bored and shitless and useless. So you'll need something to absorb that extra percent, like maybe some music or something, or maybe a YouTube video on in the background.
Can't have that.
Aye.
No, that is against company policy, and if you do that, you'll be yelled at, or even get a written warning that it wasn't written at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you'll be put on the blacklist.
Mm-hmm. Prime says there have been a few exposed posts of employers asking why their good workers leave at 5 and don't keep working off clock. Yeah, no shit. Oh, I've gone in trouble for so many stupid things, but the one time I was almost expected to get into trouble but didn't was when I walked in, someone asked me for help, and I said, I'm not getting paid for 15 minutes, good luck. I've said something similar to a manager as well. Oh, can you help such and such? I could, but I don't start until 8 o'clock or whatever it was. So unless you're willing to start my shift now. No? Okay, cool. I'm going back to the break room. Good luck.
Yeah, pretty much.
Funny how they were fine with getting me to do work, but as soon as I'm like, well, if you want me to work, you need to pay me. Oh, no, never mind.
I'd like to be paid for that. What? I used to just be like, I'm like, oh, could you just be like double time?
Mm-hmm.
What? No. Then I'll see you when my shift starts.
Or here was another story about how dumb this company is. We worked public holidays sometimes. Like, some states have different public holidays. So there'd be a public holiday in my state, but because it was a national call center, we'd be working there all day, getting paid public holiday rates, and answering one phone call every half hour. And then they'd start, then about 2 hours into the shift, they'd start asking, who wants to go home? And people were going home, and I'm sitting here going, no. Oh, why? Oh, aren't you going to go home early? What, you want me to give up 3 times holiday pay and doing less than 10% of the work? No. Because they couldn't send us home forcibly either, because we were contracted on hours. We would get contracted like 38 hours a week or something.
See, now you're lucky, because we had 0-hour contracts.
Oh, fuck those. Those should be illegal.
Those lovely things where you're not actually contracted for any hours at all. And yeah, you'd go in, you'd commute in, you'd obviously be relying on this wage, and if it was a quiet day, like, and sometimes there'd only be like 3 of you in there to begin with, and they'd be like, it's really quiet today. Somebody has to go home. And you wouldn't be getting paid if you went home. Or, like, you'd be asked to, could you just clock out for a few hours and just hang about, like, in the customer area, and maybe you'll pick up later.
Right, you got told to clock out when it was a slow day?
Interestingly enough, that's one of the few things that's actually illegal in the States. That sounds like
you could leave if you wanted to. but then maybe you can pick up some hours later.
Yeah, at least
Yeah,
something we've
no.
got in Australia, and probably is in most other places, is if you show up, they have to pay you a minimum amount of hours. And oh my god, labour hire companies are the worst for trying to get away with that. Like, one time I rocked up to a site and the contract had been cancelled with the labour hire company, so there was no work for me to do, but they didn't tell me. So when they're like, oh shit, that's in here, and I'm like, yeah, it is, now fucking pay me. I showed up, you owe me 4 hours.
Hmm.
Fucking dickheads. Labour hire companies
Yeah,
are the
sometimes you would
worst.
go home with nothing because it was quiet, and so off you go. We don't need you. You're surplus to requirement. Okay, so not only have I wasted a day coming in here, wasted my petrol getting here, but I'm now a day short in wages.
Yep.
Mm.
That is beyond scummy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, one place I used to work is they would do half days, and it's initially it was like, yeah, no, and then I realized if I just put down on the timesheet the full day, and of course they'd question it all, but it was just like, yeah, we can't ask you to come in for half days anymore. It's like, what? You mean you don't want to audit my actual hours on site?
Huh.
You don't want to play that game? Okay, well that's fine.
Yep. That's the kind of stuff you need to do. So the corporate environment's shit. There's no motivation to work for the work itself. There's no motivation to work because you spend all your time pushing and pushing and pushing to get nothing, not even a decent take-home. And then your entire generation's been fucked by decades of feminist policy, shitty schooling, and the world just being screwed over in general. And that's how you end up with Gen Z saying that they don't want to work on Mondays. A bare minimum Monday.
Hmm.
Yep. I mean, in a way I can't blame them. But in another way, it's like, don't you just want to get the job done and fuck off home?
Maybe, but
Well, the
you
problem is
probably
most
find
companies
that
won't let
Gen
you do
Zers
that.
who have managed to get into like a trade or a career or something that they enjoy doing, like I don't know, they took an apprenticeship or something. You probably find that they're not going in and doing half-ass Mondays. It's probably
hell no.
people who have found themselves stuck in a corporate environment that are wage slaves, and they're just like, "What the fuck am I even bothering?"
Yeah. This is wage slave stuff. Like, actual people... Anyone who gets paid by the project rather than by the hour isn't going to do this bullshit.
Yeah.
That's the absolute truth there.
So no tradesman's gonna pull this shit, because if he gets paid per job, no, he's gonna do 20 jobs in a day rather than dicking about on one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll put it this way, with my company, we basically, we'll get a project, we'll go in there, we'll work, 12, 13-hour days, and then we fuck off. And it's like, okay, here you're making basically a month's worth of wages in 5 days, and we're not going to need you for another couple weeks. I mean, my crews, when they're hitting it hard and not having to deal with customers' bullshit, that's why I'm there. But it's like, we go through there, we hit it, we knock it out, we spend long days, and then it's like, okay, here's your month's worth of wages, fuck off. I mean, my crews will, again, if they think they can, get an extra hour's worth of work in, they'll do it. They won't even be asked. And it's great.
Yeah, because they want to fuck off home and be left
because the
alone
guys
for 3
working for
weeks
you are
too.
dedicated to getting the job done.
Exactly. And
Well,
not only
it
are they
also sounds
dedicated
like
to getting the job done.
It also sounds like,
It's
while they
like-
may not be officially rewarded, but they're functionally rewarded by, like Bleach is saying, oh, you finished the job in 5 days instead of 7. Well, that's 2 extra days that Bleach leaves you the fuck alone.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like my crews, they will hit me up almost daily. It's like, hey boss, can we have a job? Can we have a job? Can we have a job? And it's like, I don't have anything for you right now, but yeah, you've already been paid for the entire month. Yeah, your wages are all satisfied, and they want to do more because they know if they can go in and work like a 3 or 4 day project, they have the whole damn next week off, and they've already had that wage covered for.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, my company charges a premium, and it doesn't look like we're doing a ton. That's because we've got a lot of guys doing a lot of things really fast.
Yeah, and that's the difference to like these corporate environments where if you work harder, you've still got to sit there for 8 hours. So
This is the problem with an hourly wage
Mm.
rather than just, I want this thing. How much for you to do this thing? And how long do you think it'll take you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Technically, all of my employees are salaried, but the way we do it is basically they're paid an hourly wage, but it's just it all works out to I give them enough stuff to do. Honestly, if one of my employees did all of his work in 1 week, he has the entire month off. Now, that doesn't always work out logistically, but theoretically,
yeah,
they could give me an entire month's worth of work in 1 week and then just fuck off for the rest of it.
That sounds like a pretty sweet thing.
yeah. Meanwhile, in
Yeah.
corpo
You're done, yeah.
and meanwhile in corpo bullshit land, if you do a month's worth of work in a week, they'll expect you to do that for the rest of all time.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's sort of an unwritten rule at my workplace that you should never give 100% as your standard. Give 50, then make them believe that's your 100, and then you do 100 when you really have to,
Hmm.
because that'll make it look like 110.
I've worked a lot of jobs like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Personally, I can't stand it because I've got to be in constant motion when it comes to work.
well,
And,
that's my problem as well. If the moment the brain stops working, I start considering alternative things to amuse myself.
Mm.
So, some of which may involve rolly chair related jewels. Jewels. Everyone who's been on rolly chairs has considered it.
We're jousting?
Yeah,
Fuck
we're
that.
gonna have joust. We're gonna go out into the hallway and have jousting.
I mean, at least it's not genital jousting, I suppose.
Yes, wise.
You say that now, but
I
now
mean,
you're
my,
going to be
Not
thinking
all
about
sword
it.
Haven't
fight for
worked
nothing,
out.
Trim.
Here's one that dis.
my poor Besicus.
Oh dear. There's a joke kind of related to that Disco might enjoy. Boss comes out and starts yelling at two guys. What the hell are you doing? You're fucking around. You're running about. You're fighting on your rolly chairs. What the hell are you doing? Oh, code's compiling. Oh, never mind. Carry on then.
Oh.
Oh dear.
At my work, there is a bit of a different thing. Many people are tired, but it's more like we're just sick of the situation with the guests and such.
Yeah.
And from management, but we have this system that, say I work a full day, right? I do all my work, but suddenly I need to do like a half hour extra. The following day, I have to do the same. However, the day after, on the third day, I can actually, if I'm done with my work, quit half an hour earlier and the following day.
That's
So the time is more
generically
flexible.
called something like time in lieu.
Yeah, banking,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, some
Yeah.
bullshit like that.
Yeah.
It works in a lot of jobs where it's like, oh, you need to do 38 hours this week. Well, that's fine. I did 12 on Monday. I'm leaving at lunch on Friday.
Yeah.
Now, jobs where you
It
can
works
actually
really-
do that are really nice, but a lot of them are like,
Yeah.
no, you have to be
A
in
lot
this
will let
seat
you
from
do that,
7 a.m. to 4 or whatever.
It's
bullshit.
really nice when you have a standard of 12-hour work
Yes.
work days.
Yes, but also your kind of work, and Ardent's for that matter, it's kind of very obvious to see what the fuck you've been doing for the last 12 hours, because the evidence is sitting right there.
Why are the customers hungry, Trim?
I was busy jousting my genitals, sir.
Oh.
Didn't you like the extra white sauce in your meal?
It's rich in protein.
Oh no.
Mm.
Bad
I
Trim.
mean,
Why is the biscuit so salty?
Yeah. Oh, Arden, why do you have a headache?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the article finishes the tiny article finishes off the idea that people at that work with their hands or work in a shop or any small business can kind of just find it on Monday. This is the ultimate idea of people who don't really have many deadlines in their lives. Well, that's a problem of the work environment, isn't it? Especially in corpo bullshit jobs like call centers. Please explain when the project ends. You never get that end of project reward. Like with what Bleach is saying, you work your ass off for 7 days, but then the project's fucking done and you piss off.
Yeah.
We're done, we've done a good job, it's signed, sealed, delivered, and you're gone. Meanwhile, in the call center, okay, I've just spent a week doing all this work, I've solved all these problems, and what am I doing on Monday? The same shit again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Several of my friends who have been working in call centers have said that if I ever try to get work at a call center, they will physically beat me to
Good,
death.
good. It's preferable to working in a call center.
Yeah, that's how I know
Yeah.
they're my real friends.
Yeah.
You want
your real friends will threaten to hurt you if you attempt to do something that will hurt you.
Yes.
Yeah, honestly, I'd rather work in fast food than a call center, to be honest.
I don't disagree.
I'd
More.
rather work palliative care than a call center.
Calm down, Trinity.
I mean, at least your customers are going to go away permanently.
Yeah.
So
Maureen.
can physically kick the customer out.
Yeah.
You're out of palliative care. Here's the corner.
Yeah. Maureen says, I worked very hard at my last job, putting in extra hours to get everything done. In the end, I was responsible for the entire department. If something went wrong, they would call me at night. But I earned the same as the bimbo behind the counter. And what did you learn?
Being good at your job gets you extra responsibilities.
Yep, exactly.
No rewards.
If your co-worker's 100% is equal to your 30%, don't work your 100%. Work your 32%. Shit, work your 20. Like you don't want to, and that's one of the parts of this problem. People immediately figure out you don't want to be at the bottom or at the top in corpo bullshit jobs. Because if you're at the top, you'll get extra work with no reward, and if you're at the bottom, you might eventually one day get fired. This is one of the problems with my corpo bullshit job. They kept the idiots and pissed off the smart people.
Well, yeah, it's like the mythical Protestant work ethic has just been so degraded through history.
Oh yeah.
It's rather sad because I think most people want to be overachievers if they get a reward for doing that work.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment you hobble that reward, it's like, oh, why the fuck am I just showing up and doing the bare minimum?
Well, look back at all of human history. That there was a very obvious, tangible reward to basically anything you did. Back when we were hunter-gatherers, if you came home at the end of the day and you had nothing, you were shit. But the guy with 3 rabbits, he's doing okay. The guy over there with the deer, oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe do less of what the guy with nothing's got and more of the guy with the deer. And same applies to gathering. Same applies to farming. That's one of the problems with the non-physical product employment sectors. Okay, you feel like you've worked for 10 years, but what please show me on this desk where the product you have created is. If you're really
and that I think ultimately is the problem is because I saw this with an acquaintance of mine where he was like a concierge at some high class hotel. It's like, so you're somebody's bitch for 12 hours a day.
Somebody's
What do you actually
paid
have
for
to show? Yeah, yeah. That's like what do you have to show for it? What have you actually produced? Like, oh well, I've got all these happy customers. Like, well, you're a communist piece of shit for one, and two,
Yeah.
you're robbing your child of you time. Go fuck yourself.
Like, even road crews today can at least turn around and go, yeah, we did great today. We did an extra 20 meters on yesterday or something. Like, they can step to the side and go, oh, we went from there to there. Look at all of my work there.
Mm.
Put people like, say, Disco, sorry to use her as an example, Disco. Like, Disco works for 20 hours and then turns the computer off. Where is Disco work? Or you can just sit there for 20 hours coding away.
Well, I do animating, so
Well,
you
yeah.
just need to look at the keyframes on the timeline.
Yeah.
Does it wiggle?
Yeah.
Why does it not wiggle?
Yeah. But,
Because Disco fell asleep.
yeah. But yeah, like for a lot of that stuff, some of it, yeah, but for a lot of it, you can look at your work. And if, say, you're just coding all day, oh, great, my scroll bar's gotten slightly smaller.
Mm.
This number has gone from 14,000 to 16,000. Especially if you've just spent a day bug fixing.
That's true, yeah. If I'm coding, then
At least the
the
word
actual
count goes
output
up.
result might
Mm.
not necessarily show the work put in.
Yeah.
Maybe that I was tearing my hair out for 6 hours going, why didn't you work?
Yeah, oh, fuck, semicolons.
Oh man, I'm so glad I'm not in that department, because if you put me behind a computer, it's like, do code.
We've seen what happens
would
when
just-
we put you behind a computer, Trim.
Yeah, my glasses would literally become like these Windows blue screens of death. Smoke would come out of my ears, and you would have a limited amount of time to get out of the blast radius.
Excellent. And that actually reminds me of another point I wanted to make about Gen Z. Thanks, Trim.
You're welcome.
Trim is
Would you be of
Ironically, if
service?
you,
Trim is tech.
ironically, if you put me in that situation, you'd come back 3 hours later and you'd have a lovely cabinet, but the computer would be in pieces.
Yes. No, one of the other problems Gen Z has is they're computer illiterate. Trim's better at computering than Gen Z.
What?
Yeah, I'm not kidding. You take
Yeah,
the average Gen Z and stick them in front of a desktop computer and ask them to perform a task, they're fucking clueless. Like they're as bad as they're as bad, if not worse, than the bloody boomers.
Oh, I'd say worse.
Okay.
Think about it, Trim. Well, actually, Trim might struggle.
I don't wanna.
That's basically the Gen Z attitude.
On the upside, though, they'll be able to make a fantastic TikTok video.
No,
How dare you?
to explain it,
I want
to explain the point to anyone who's confused like Trim, Gen Z have spent their entire lives using tablets and phones. So if anytime they do something, I press this app. What's a folder? File type? The fuck's a file type? My videos are kept in the YouTube app, right?
Oof.
No, the TikTok app.
Hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Instock grammar.
All the videos I download are in this VLC app, right? What do you mean you can change the folder? Gen Z doesn't know what a folder is. Gen Z doesn't know what a
..
exactly. Gen Z doesn't know what a file type is. Why do you think Windows hides file types by default? You know, the first thing that anyone who uses a fucking computer turns off. Who knows how to use it?
Yeah.
That is disturbing. Really fucking disturbing.
It is because I still have fantasies about doing everything in DOS. So
I remember Windows 95. Just.
I remember when I first started playing games on my computer,
Yeah.
I had to log out of Windows to launch the game from
Mm.
my 3.5-inch floppy.
I
Yeah.
remember sitting in the computer lab in primary school, passing around the installation floppies for Warcraft.
Yeah, I had Warcraft on a floppy.
Sorry, not
and
Warcraft, Starcraft. My bad.
Oh.
In
oh.
school, we had, what was it, like Around the World in 80 Days or something, and
Yeah.
like you couldn't save it, so you'd get told like you can go on the computer and play the one game that the school has.
Mhm.
So you go on the computer, and every time you play the same part of the game, you couldn't save it.
Mhm.
It was on like 6 floppy disks. You had to keep swapping the disks out.
Do you guys think that's where this whole speedrunning thing started?
Kinda, yeah.
Partially, yeah.
I remember playing Wolfenstein 3D and Doom back.
Oh yeah, I love those games.
And it was just like, yeah, I've got a 45-minute class and I've got to get through this as fast as I can, so I look productive.
I remember, and this is where my age is really going to show, which granted isn't quite as impressive as some here. But I
Okay.
I remember playing on Windows 98 Clyde's Revenge that was emulated from DOS because 98 still had a full
God.
DOS emulator in it.
Yep.
Yes. Oh, so, okay. You're the only person that I've known that knows what Clyde's Revenge or even Clyde's Adventure is.
I
Holy
actually never played Clyde's Adventure. Only Clyde's Revenge. I don't even know how I got... Shit, I used to play it on computer with my mother. Like, she...
shit. Wow.
Oh, Lord. There's an old
Yeah.
game.
Yes,
I-
chat. We are fucking old, apparently.
Oh no! I can still remember when a computer program came on a cassette tape.
Ooh.
Cassettes. Damn.
I don't even remember the big floppy disks. I only remember the 3.5 inches.
5 1/4, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I still actually
You know,
have
if you got
5
real good with
1/4.
those 5 1/4s, you could stick them directly into a drop ceiling.
I actually
Yeah.
saw a post the other day. It was like millennials feel the pain of this post, and it's somebody with like a floppy disk, and they're like, "Hey, look, a physical save
Yeah,
icon!"
someone 3D printed the save icon.
Oh no!
You're kidding me. Please tell me you're kidding me.
No!
No, she's telling you the truth.
Hmm.
One of the best
Yeah.
videos I've seen in fucking forever is these two really young guys are handed a rotary phone
Oh.
and told to make a call, and it's just glorious.
To be fair, they were dead before I was born here.
I don't know if you've
True.
ever seen the channel. I think it's Kids React too.
Ugh.
Yep.
And they literally they just show kids like old stuff, and they're like, you go. One of them, they give them one of the old Game Boy originals, and they're like, what is this? Where does it connect to the internet?
No.
Oh my god. I remember getting on, it was like 96 or 97, and logging into the Tamiya models, the little plastic models website, and I could see their whole catalog. I was like, oh, this is great. I went in just for shits and giggles like a year ago. I was like, how the fuck does this thing work? So, I can't figure out where all of my fun stuff is.
I remember way back in the day hitting on chicks using Hotmail Messenger.
Wow.
Oh wow!
Does anybody
Wow.
remember ITQ?
Yes.
Yes.
Holy shit!
106927501. I still remember the fucking number.
I remember getting it was like the Microsoft Online Gaming. So this would have been like 94, 95. And a friend and I we would play chess, and somebody just wandered into our chat. It's like, oh gee, how old are you? And I'm just like,
Oh,
pedophile. And
every time you used to go in the chat room, SL,
ASL?
ASL?
ASL? No, fuck off.
Oh, God.
Ugh.
I'm so old, my first TVs were black and white.
Actually, Maureen asks, was the wheel
No, that's
invented
just
yet when
Canadian.
you were young, Ardent?
What's that?
Was the wheel invented yet when you were young, Ardent?
Yeah, I was born after the wheel was invented, like a week later.
Hello, George.
Good
Arden,
kitty.
the only human being here who's older than me. However, unlike me, he doesn't have dementia.
I don't
Okay.
think Ardent's the only one older than you.
No, I don't think
Yeah.
so.
I think Bleach might be
Bleach
at
is
least a couple of...
ageless.
mi-
I think
Formless.
Trim's one of the bobbies of the group, actually.
Yeah,
Babby.
Yeah.
all right, you're an infant then.
Oh, much better.
Bobby.
Wait, isn't that the same thing?
I-
No, this one, bobbies.
I
Don't
thi-
do
He's
that.
just a wee Baron.
The wee bairn.
Trim, Disco, and myself are probably all within like a year or two, I think. Unless I'm about to get horrified by
I'm
Disco.
turning 32 this summer.
You poor bastard, aren't you?
You poor young bastard.
Young, right?
I turned 47 like 8 weeks ago.
Oh, Grandpa Arden.
Well,
I'm,
again, I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people who don't be like, "Oh no, I'm getting older." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm getting older."
well,
Fuck you, world.
I knew it
Hey,
was
Trim,
downhill from 18.
When you hit my age, you'll be like, "Fuck, I'm turning older."
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm trying to do the whole workout thing, so I can at least be able to function somewhat normally.
You can't do anything normally.
Trim functions normally?
Well, here's my trick. I have a trick. My trick is
Wait, hold on,
have
hold on,
someone
hold on,
fucking
hold on.
guide me to do it.
Trim's trick
Trim,
is
you're
Disco
you're
Berserk
turning tricks,
help.
Yeah, it's broken. Doesn't work. Can't find it.
Oh, no,
Technology is gay. Help. Need help
I'm-
now.
I am hearing
Trim's
that
doing
Trim is
better
turning
than I know.
tricks.
Stormy says that oh my god, Trim, I'm 10 years older than you, which means Ardent's doing really well.
Hey.
Yes.
Yes, she is 5 years younger than me.
Well done.
I am soon to be the dirty old man I've always intended to be.
The,
I think we were gonna be that without the story.
the only change is the old, right, Ardent?
Absolutely.
Actually, I've got a mate that's about 10 years older than you, Ardent, and every time I'm like, "Oh, you're a dirty old man," he's like, "Enough of the old."
I'm just dirty, damn it.
Well,
Every day, though,
I have
every
a
day
plan for
saying the phrase "Hey, baby" to a younger woman just starts to feel creepier and creepier.
It's how it should be, damn it.
Oh, dear.
And Maureen's asking Arden about VHS. I can do you one better. I still have a not a VHS, beta player in my basement.
Holy crap!
Oh, those things
I
never die.
thought those were just legends.
I don't think, but
No.
I don't think the beta even made it to Australia. For me to find, because it
So,
sadly died. Well,
here-
not
here's
sadly.
You made it
Blow
here, and
Trim's
you're closer
mind.
to Japan than I am.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So this will blow Trim's mind. If I remember right, I have I think it's a Transformers kids show on beta. in my
Oh
basement.
wow!
Wow.
That is fucking cool.
The OG movie or what?
Yeah, it's some movie, yeah. And,
Wait,
and
you
the-
have
probably the
the
original
original
movie, yeah.
Transformers movie?
on beta, yeah.
That is fucking
Sweet.
badass.
So apparently, when we visit Bleach, we're adding to the barbecue and the trip to the range. We're having movie night with Trim, apparently.
Yes.
They're having beta movie night with
We're
Trim, yeah.
watching the OG Transformers. Fuck yeah.
On beta.
Hell yeah. That's all this fucking get. Let's see if we can find one of those box TVs as well.
I already have one of those.
Okay, good. Everything is set.
What? One of the gigantic old floor model wood cabinet ones?
Hell yeah.
Oh, those
It's
things
a
are awesome.
it's a fucking tube TV. It's not even
It's a
solid
tube.
state. It's fucking tube.
Tube.
Yeah, we're such weirdos.
Tube.
Mm.
I just have that one because I saw a meme about two people arguing about which M1 was the best one, and a guy then the guy below is like, "Boob, just a fucking rocket launcher."
Eh.
Yeah.
Fucking super heterodyne motherfuckers.
Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, Gen Z are nearly as bad, if not worse, than Boomers. Where it's like, oh, open up the start menu. What's the start menu? No, fuck. Go to your user profile. My what? Ah, shit. Here we go.
Huh.
And
It's a dark day when I'm more technologically literate than literally anyone else.
yeah, well,
Yes.
well, that's how sad it is. Gen Z are really, really bad at using proper computers because they've
One
spent
would
their
think they'd
they've
be
literally only ever used tablets and phones their entire lives. Or
Yeah.
maybe with the really young ones, a Chromebook, which I'd have. All I know is it's not a real computer.
No.
It's gay.
Like, why would I like? I don't like giving Microsoft access and as much access as they have. Why the fuck would I give it more to Google?
Hey, do you guys think that Gen X is one of those generations who do not know the value of privacy? Proper, like,
You mean Gen Z?
yeah.
Probably.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
no,
They don't. They've never had it.
Yeah.
Everything have always been shared on the internet.
And also they seem to be desperate for like online popularity, so of course they would never fucking try to be,
Yes.
you know,
Well, it
private.
doesn't help that for a lot of adults now have spent the last 3 years with going outside being illegal.
Yeah.
That actually is a very strange cultural shift. 'Cause I have floating around, The Year of the Plague. I can't remember the author, but basically it's a Black Death era writing, and I really would like to compare that now that we have a little perspective on what we were doing, and just do a little comparison.
Well, it's kind of understandable when you compare when you look at the death rate of the actual plague, how you'd have a massive demographic and cultural shift.
Mm-hmm.
But then you look at the other more recent plague, and you notice that the death rate is for some age groups 0, and is still quite low for the others. And then you look at all the damage, and you can trace it directly back to government intervention.
It was supposed to be a play, like.
It was supposed to be a plane. Oh.
I thought he said it was supposed to be a real play.
He gets cranky and loud.
I'm sorry. That was just funny.
Yeah.
The timing was just
Yeah.
perfection.
But no, the cultural shift this time is caused entirely by government action. Every time they're like, oh, COVID did fucking nothing. The government did it.
Yeah.
It wasn't COVID that sat down in the boardrooms at the CDC and decided they'd lie to people about the death rate, and then go, oh, we're going to close down schools, we're going to force everyone to wear masks, we're going to make it illegal to go to the cafe without this not properly tested fucking injection. Oh, we're going to violate
people for the privilege of coming back to their home country.
Yeah, we are going to violate the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights by restricting people's free movement within their own nations and refusing to allow them to return to their country of citizenship.
What are you talking about that you want your freedoms? How you white
How dare
supremacist
you.
evil? Yes. How dare you?
It must be nice
There
to
are a lot
it
of
must be nice to be a midwit, because then you don't know how stupid you are.
Like, shut up and comply.
Well, I do have a certain idea over how stupid I am, but let's not push it.
That's right, Jim. You're not a midwit. You're a half.
I know.
Now, Trim.
I'm a half of many ways.
Now, Trim.
That.
Do you know that
Yes.
half is between 1/4 and 3/4?
Really?
Don't
Surprisingly,
confuse
yes.
the poor boy.
What?
In fact, it's halfway.
Oh, that's why it's half. Oh, I
Yes,
get it
that's right.
now.
A
Good
half-
job.
a half
We can cook
is the
and draw, isn't it?
A half is the same as 2/4. Yeah, Trim, Disco and I discussed this after the stream, and we have determined that you would make some woman an excellent wife.
Hey, to be fair, I look real good in an apron.
I said it's a good job he could cook and draw.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I got nothing else going for me.
Can you weave, Trim?
Well, wait, I got something going for me. I'm starting to get some prominent shoulders, so you know, I'm starting to be able to bring more to the table.
Oh, good. So you can make dresses for yourself.
Yeah, so
Yes.
yes, Trim would make some lady an excellent wife.
No.
He
How
would-
do you say it's ma'am in Norwegian?
Det Mister. No, wait, that's man. Sorry,
Oh, for fuck's
I thought about his. I thought about his actual gender. Sorry, how sexist of me. Det fröken.
Okay.
fröken.
Fröken.
You need to say it in more of a Karen tone.
Oh, that's what I did.
Yeah.
That's a
So
Norwegian way of a
you need
Karen.
to increase the pitch of your
det-
voice.
Det fröken. Det fru.
Somebody clip that.
Yeah, good luck. That's
I
if you want to
really
suffer,
feel
go
like
ahead.
you need to see the manager, you know?
Yeah, that's basically it.
Oh dear.
Jeg vil snakke med den ansvarlige for dette lokalet.
Hmm.
Jeg føler jeg ikke har fått den servicen jeg fortjener. Oh my god, I once met a person from Oslo who spoke like that. I've never wanted to strangle someone at work publicly as much in my entire life.
You've added so many conditions to that, Trim. How many people have you wanted to strangle at work? Privately.
Well, you know, let's forget what I was talking about because I know we're in Rumble, but not even them can allow this shit.
And what about the people that you wanted to strangle who weren't at work publicly?
All of
No
them.
comment.
Yes.
Will this be used against me in a court of law?
Yes.
Okay, and then I'm just gonna stop right there.
Oh, Bobcat's like, Trim, did you forget your own language for a second?
Yes,
Yes, he
I
did.
spoke in. I didn't spoke the dialect I grew up with. I spoke Oslo dialect right there.
Ew.
The most obnoxious, annoying, and self-important fucking accent in all of Norway.
Oh, Lord above.
That's why none of us likes people from Oslo. Not even people from Oslo like people from Oslo.
Yeah.
Sounds like a you problem.
It was not from Oslo.
Sad. Or as they say, Oslo. Jeg er fra Oslo.
Sounds
Hva er
weak
det
and
vi
pathetic.
snakker om? Oh, really? You don't fucking say.
Yes.
Sounds Swedish.
Let us explain.
Good. In detail, please. From the
Yes.
top.
Sweden, the Oslo of Scandinavia.
Yeah.
or better yet, Oslo, the London of Norway.
Do you have enough machetes attacks?
We do have knife attacks.
Oh,
There
so
you
it's
go.
exactly like London.
Yep. And also, let's not forget the hardworking archers.
Yeah, it was a guy with a
And-
bow once, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I have
That's been
to
several.
respond to Violence's life. Fuck New York.
Yeah.
And you'll be happy to know, Violence, I was driving like a complete maniac to just keep up with the retards up there
Hell yeah.
last week.
He also posted some pictures of him giving New York the finger, so
That was based.
yes, it
At
was.
least-
You're welcome to post the Bleach giving the finger to I Hat New York.
Hmm. Ah, dear.
No, it's not an accent. It's like mental retardation made into a language.
So, Norwegian.
Yeah, no. Norwegian sound like an eloquent dialect compared to fucking New York.
Yeah. Fuck New York.
Mhm.
So
Unless you guys go to Bergen, though, then you're just gonna be like,
No. Believe me, Trim. Bergen is like,
dude.
a-
Okay,
a fetid
you've been
shithole
making
compared to
fun
New
of me
York.
for doing the whole hurdy-gurdy shit, but if I have been talking to you, of course I can't speak the Bergen accent because only people who are unfortunate enough to be born there can do it. But people who speak Bergen have the literal hurdy-gurdies.
uh,
I am not shitting you guys.
yes, but
We
they're not
heard
here to make fun of,
Princeton.
so.
Yeah, but I haven't been singing in Bergen.
No.
Well, now you have to.
Hurdy-gurdy.
No, I refuse.
We have plenty of recordings from playing Valheim of Trim going, I'm going to get a coffee. Hurdy-gurdy-gurd.
I mean, in my home dialect, it's like, Eva Murder, Heva Yang Head, but you Sebastian. Hoi. Oh, by the way, that's today. Today's Vemmer. I'm singing the song at the proper timing.
Hell yeah.
I have no idea
Now,
what that
does it
was,
sound
but
like
I
in
have
a
clipped it.
Bergen?
You don't sing Vemmer in Bergen. That is,
No,
it's sort of like
no, do it.
no.
Do it.
It's like reading the Bible inside of a mosque.
Oh, based.
So you really need to do it.
No, wait. It's like reading. It's like reading the Quran inside of an old church. basically.
Oh,
fuck you.
yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, I said it the wrong way. You know me in directions
And colors.
and,
And
quarters.
fractions.
You know, just me and life in general.
Oh.
Trim and the challenge of literally fucking anything.
Yet somehow it tastes delicious at the same time.
Hey, at least I don't quit.
Trim, I'm honestly surprised that you can work in a kitchen with knives and you haven't died yet.
Oh no, knives doesn't. As you can see in London, working with knives doesn't really take any mental ability.
Oh, so any retard can stab someone.
As you can see in London, yes. Though it's a special kind of retard who can hold a knife without stabbing anybody, and I'm one of those guys. I'm
A
one of
special
the,
kind of retard. I agree.
Yes, I'm one of the chosen ones. You know, I've been graced by some kind of deity who's like, okay, this guy, he's too far gone. I just need to help this guy out.
I think I've
Jesus
seen
Christ,
that
what did I
anime.
do? Yes.
So,
Dungeon
to
need
answer,
die something
Marcus's
something.
question.
Yep. Something,
If Marcus can make New York disappear into the Atlantic, will I give him a green card? Full citizenship. Birthright citizenship.
he will forge an actual American identity for you.
I mean, yeah, no, it's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, let's put it like this: we can always replace someone else who doesn't deserve it.
Well, that's
Wiggle
what I've been
eyebrows.
That's what I've been suggesting for years. Why don't we take all the Americans who hate having guns, send them to Australia, and then swap them out for the Australians who like guns, and we can have California. Like, send all the Californians to Australia and then bring the based Australians back. Because California's kind of like Australia. It's on the coast, it's covered in gum trees.
It's hot as hell at
yeah.
times. Yeah.
And you run a risk of dying every single day of your life.
Yes, but
Yeah, but we'll solve that
With-
problem after we get rid of the
tweakers
Americans, the
gone.
Californians.
There's a big bunch of deadly desert in the middle of it.
There we go.
Yep. Yeah, it's just, see? Just
And
like
the
home.
government hates you and wants to kill you.
Well, ideally
Well,
under
that's
this
why you import
policy.
the based Australians. Get rid of that government.
Yeah.
We'll bring emus.
make 1776 great again.
Damn right.
Make 2024 1776. again.
Violence is like, I agree with that plan. And Basic's like, but on Bobcat's like, basic deal.
Lovely.
I've repeatedly told lefty Americans who hate their country, I will happily trade you citizenships.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
They
I
never
will
take
pay
you up.
you.
That's the sad part.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
it. Oh, if you hate America so much, why don't you just come swap me?
Yeah.
Please.
It's like Canada, it's full of white people.
I will do almost anything.
Marcus says it also gets set on fire regularly. Okay, whichever a smart ass Australian son of a bitch sold the Californians those gum trees. What a fucking mad bastard.
I mean, sounds. If you're California, if you live in California, you have to be pyromaniac. Can I?
You
Can
don't
I?
have to be.
No,
but
it's
you
just
should
strongly
be.
Might as
encouraged.
well be.
But
Yeah.
Trim, I'm not sure if you understand. Not only do gum trees catch fire like general trees, they're also full of flammable liquid, and they detonate.
Speaking of, I've got to go find a video
Can
of
you?
that.
Can you? Can you send me a few? I have
Like
no
gum
plans
trees.
at all. I got no malicious plans at all. I promise. Sorry, I saw something really funny.
Yeah. But Arnold's camera isn't on. Love you, Arnold. Oh, dear. Yeah, so to finally finish off that article, it is somewhat understandable why Gen Z are fucking done with the corporate environment and don't give a shit. But also, don't act like it's fucking virtuous to put in less effort on a Monday.
No.
Yeah, and that's what Fridays are for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, don't expect any work to get done after lunch on a Friday.
Who the hell would work on a fucking Friday evening when
interest-
you're done with work?
Interesting. Apparently, I heard this from a guy, but I haven't verified it. Apparently, they're talking about ending school at like lunchtime on Fridays here, and I'm like, yeah, why? Fuck it, why not? It's not like I went to school yeah, on Friday afternoons and learned fucking nothing.
Yeah.
I think we all experience much the same. It's after lunch on a Friday, no one's learning anything, and the teacher's done too.
Yeah, it's like, well, hell, we did learn a hell of a lot back in the day anyway.
Yeah, this is why I don't necessarily hate the idea. You know, you keep bringing up the 4-day work week and whatnot, and you know, some of the boomers get up in arms and they're like, "Oh, same amount of pay for less work," and it's like, well, no, if you're paying them by the hour, then sure, people are gonna go home with less money, but if you pay them by the job and you say, if you can do that job in 4 days instead of eking it out over 5, and I get the same product at the end of that 4 days, you can have a 3-day weekend.
The problem is the
You'll
idiots.
find productivity goes up.
The problem with a lot of the 4-day work weeks numbnuts is that they want a 4-day work week on a 5-day
At the
pay
same
scale.
levels.
Yeah, they want to do
Yeah.
4 days worth of work and get paid for 5. Now, a lot of us have worked manual labor jobs or have other jobs that have let us do 4 10s instead of 5 8s. That's brilliant. It gives you a whole extra day to do not work.
And when you're already there, those extra 2 hours are nothing.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm already here. What? Fuck it. Another 2 hours. Yeah, whatever. Compared to having to drag my ass out of bed on Friday.
Mhm.
Because, you know, the way I look at it, and this is how I kind of run my crews, it's like, if they can get done the same amount of work and work, yeah, three 12s or 4 10s or what have you, and instead of 5 8s, it's like, well, hell yeah, just the project's done, fuck off.
Exactly.
And
But even in more stereotypical shifty types of work, I think most people would, if they stopped to think about it, would be happier doing 4 10s than 5 8s. Especially considering that the bloody government is open 9 to fucking 5 weekdays. I shouldn't need to take a fucking paid vacation to go to the bloody post office.
Or the doctors. Like, I had to register for new doctors when I moved. And they're like, oh, you can't do it over the phone. You can't do it over the internet. You've got to come in between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. on a Monday to Friday. And I'm like,
Bitch, I
Well,
work.
so I have to take a day off to come down there to sign a form. Why can't I not just drop it off? Why don't you have an online registration system?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah,
You don't?
No.
and this kind of gets back into the, I don't think socially we're able to keep up with technology
No.
in a productive way. And yeah, now me personally, I'm an archaic kind of guy, and I would rather most of my bills I don't pay online because it's like, well, fuck you, send me a piece of paper and then I'll pay that.
Mhm.
But that said, it's there's just this level of, why do I have to inconvenience myself and be penalized just to fit into your bullshit work schedules?
Yep.
It's like, no, go fuck yourself.
Well, especially when you need to deal with like so many government licenses. Oh, you want to go to the DMV? That's a day off work. Oh, you want to go apply for this other license? That's a day off work. Oh, you need to do this other random bullshit thing that no one wants to fucking do. Day off work.
Mm.
So you're losing, especially if, like you did when I was working, you had a 2-hour each way commute. You're never going to get, if you have to take any of the workday off, the entire day's dead. So you might as well, you take the whole thing. So if you've got vacation time saved up, you're using that. If you don't, you're losing a day's wage. I would...
Even worse here with the doctor's thing, back to that, is that you can't just say, phone them up and be like, can I have an appointment this week or something? And they'll be like, yeah, you can come in on Tuesday unless it's an emergency. No, they're like, you need to phone up at exactly 8:30 in the morning of the day that you would like the appointment. Well, if you're commuting into work, you're already late for work at that point.
Yep.
And then you play telephone roulette with the receptionist. You get through at like 8:31 and she tells you, well, I'm afraid there's no appointments left for today. You're going to have to call back tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning.
Yep.
And refuses to give you an appointment for the next day. So you could spend every day that week being late for work just trying to get a doctor's appointment. That's before you even take time off for the appointment.
Yep. And the other advantage to, world-class NHS, eh?
Yeah.
One of the other things with the 4 days instead of 5 is if you've got a long and or expensive commute, you're getting the same amount of pay, but you're only paying 80% of the transport. So there's lots of added benefits to doing a 30 or 40-hour work week for 4 days instead of 5. I don't know. I don't know if I could do 3/12s, but hey, if you can, and if that's the kind of work environment, why not spend 5 days of the week, 4 days of the week doing whatever the fuck you want, instead of having to combine anything into the two?
Yeah. And it's not for everybody, obviously. And there are certain industries where you can't do that, but when you can and you still get that productivity level, then why the fuck wouldn't most companies want to do that?
It's one of the things I'm enjoying about doing freelance stuff. Like, as long as I'm doing what I've agreed to do, I can do that over 2 days or I can do over 7. It doesn't matter. It's project based,
Yep, which is...
I want to sit there and do a 16-hour day. Well, great. I get the rest of the week off, or most of the rest of the week off.
Yeah. And that's I think the fallibility of the modern work environment. A combination of unions and instant communication is people expect all these things done on somebody else's schedule that has no knowledge or understanding of your work environment. And it's like, one of my customers, it's like, look, I have to do this around somebody else's schedule, and so I can't meet your schedule, because fuck you, because I'm dependent on these other things. And oh, well, but you've got to show up. It's like, so I drive an hour and fiddle fuck around for 30 minutes just to make my presence known, and then I go home and deal with other shit. It's like, this is stupid. But it's that instant communication bullshit that is the other problem. Because people are wanting constant updates, constant,
This whole 9 to 5
information.
thing seems to be a little bit arbitrary anyway. Like, where did this come from?
It came from unions, with their bullshit back at the turn of the century. And they're like, oh, well, we've got to make sure, people aren't working too much. It's like, yeah, but now you've made it so actual productive work never happens either.
Yeah. Like heck, wasn't one of the things that Henry Ford got praised for reducing it from a 6-day work week to a 5?
Yeah.
Like that's how long this stuff's been going on about. And I can tell you that there is value in reducing the days of your work week as much as possible. Like, when at my previous job, by the end of the week, despite sitting in a chair all day, I was so stressed, so exhausted, Saturday was wasted just sleeping, essentially.
Yeah, having that whole extra day is worth the trade-off of a couple extra hours per day.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, especially if you work a high-stress job of any kind, whether it's physical or mental, just having that day where you sit there in front of the TV going, ugh. You need it.
I can kind of see the argument where people are saying, well, it just means you're going to have to hire more staff members. And that's probably true in something like a supermarket or anywhere where there's an actual opening hours, where there has to be physically a human being there. Like, I can understand people saying, well, it just means they're going to have to hire more people. But in an office environment,
it should really...
in anything where there's no direct customer facing... It doesn't matter.
Well, here's the thing. It should only really impact places that are open only 9 to 5. And they've lost touch with how modern people want to live their lives anyway. Like, most businesses, like fast food places, are open 16 hours. Plus. They can easily swing it. Like, a lot of companies that are open a lot of companies that are open 7 to 7 or something similar. And a lot of manufacturing, like, you might be 24 hours, or you might be some weird 20-hour day or something. Or it'll be 20 hours of productive work and 4 hours... Sorry, that might be phrased like it. 20 hours of profitable work and then 4 hours of getting the cleaners in or something.
Yeah, and a lot of these factories, because I've as a contractor, I've gone into a lot of these and got to see how they do things. And they will typically have, like crews that will do, like, first shift, second, third, and then they have a swing shift. And typically the swing shift are people who, maybe they're wanting extra hours, maybe they're willing to work over weekends and stuff like that. But a lot of that got disrupted over, the pandemic. And a lot of them have kind of gone back to, the 3 shifts. But that still means they have a day down for most of them. There's some where, they can't for obvious reasons, but at the same time, when they start getting away from the just-in-time delivery, which a lot of them did during COVID, they weren't driving their employees to the same number of hours, but they were still getting the amount of productivity. And that was the thing that kind of boggled minds, where, like, but we need our employees in for 8 hours a day every day. It's like, no, you don't.
Mind-numbingly bored and dragging their feet because.
Well, that's it. If your job does not require providing services to members of the public, you don't need fixed hours if it can all be avoided. It does not.
The problem you do run into with certain industries, especially heavy manufacturing, is you can't just have like the same people on one line constantly all the day, because you need to have stuff processed through. But what I am getting at is they don't necessarily need to do constant volume. They can do more burst volume, where they're stockpiling product to ship out at later dates, rather than this just-in-time delivery system, which is basically running things at a bare minimum of back order. And that causes so many problems down the supply chain.
And the thing, if you do build up supply, that's where you can start doing things like going, you know what, guys, we're ahead, take the rest of Friday off, get out if you want, or something. Or, we don't need to be running at X capacity today, so we're going to close a production line. If you want to go home early, that's fine. If you don't want to go home early and you're on the closed line, go over to the other one, or something. Anything.
Yeah.
Basically anything but what they're doing now, which could describe a lot of the modern world.
And that's the thing, you know, they don't, they look at constant productivity as some sort of rating rather than an end product.
Yeah.
And we see this with how, you know, GDP is measured, and all these other indices where they're trying to get a valuation, where it's like, oh, if we have a constant flow of X, well, what if you stockpile X in the first couple months, you shift over to Y, and you stockpile that, and then you can go back to X and still have constant production, but you're changing the shift hours, you're making your employees feel like they're actually getting ahead of something rather than always lagging behind. So, yeah, there's a lot to be done if we just get away from the just-in-time delivery. And to any naysayers out there, I have a degree in business management. I have gone through all this bullshit. I have sat there and wondered, what the fuck are these retards doing when you could get people ahead of schedule, stockpiled, and make the employees feel like they're actually doing something other than just showing up and doing the bare minimum.
Yeah, and like, that's even a problem that goes over into nearly all jobs. The appearance of being busy is far more important than actually being productive.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think Disco's example of, you know, her doing the, you know, her freelance work, she can work a week or she can work a couple long days and still get the same amount done.
Well, that's it, especially for freelancers. Do you work 2 hours a day, 7 days a week? Or do you work 14 hours a day for 1 or 2 days? Any of those
Honestly,
options.
I think sometimes when you're doing a project, like, instead of having that kind of start and stop where you gotta sort of get back into it the next day, and it could take you however long to actually sort of pick up that motivation again, sometimes it's easier to just keep going.
Oh yeah, I found that, especially in things like dealing with videos or anything coding kind of thing. If once you get into the zone, you're a lot more if you get into the zone and stay there for an extra 2 hours, you're far more productive than starting again tomorrow and doing another 6 hours. Like, you're spending 3 or 4 of those hours just getting into the zone.
Yep.
I think our audience wants a different screen to look at for a little bit.
Okay, well, where's the...
Technically, we're not talking about Gen Z, to be fair. we have tangents.
We have talked about
honestly
many,
think that
many
these
things.
conversations are the best ones. I think these conversations.
Well, that's the thing. It's a panel discussion show based that we use current news articles to springboard off of. Sometimes we'll talk for 15-20 minutes. Sometimes we'll talk for 10. Sometimes we'll talk for 3.5 to 6 on one topic.
And sometimes you almost have to strangle me through the internet just to make me shut up.
No, we have to do
what do you
that
mean?
just to do natural things.
I'm trying to make myself sound less like a pain in the ass.
He's
But then
saying Trim
again,
is unnatural.
Yes, I am. He's Norwegian, thus unnatural.
He's a
I'm
ginger,
superior
thus unnatural.
how dare you?
Down, Greta. Down. Down.
Bloody Swedes.
Don't mind me, I'm just planning my vengeance.
Just remember, to enact your vengeance, you'd have to come to Australia.
Yes.
And fight the drop ears.
Yes. Oh, God. Where's
I'm not afraid of the
Dodge
drop
the
airs
exploding
anymore.
Oh,
He
Lord.
lied.
He is afraid of the Spideys, though.
To be fair, it's a lot.
Who is
It's a
it?
lot more reasonable to be afraid of the spiders when they're the size of a dog.
Yes.
Should tell Trim more stories.
Well, to be honest, I do have a pet spider now.
It
But
does.
she's a regular Norwegian house spider, so she isn't really
Oh,
that
so
dangerous.
she's like the size of a penny rather than the size of a dog.
Look, when
Yes.
you count spider feet in Australia, it's a unit of measurement. Okay. How many feet is your spider? 4.5 imperial feet, sir.
Leaping distance?
Yes. No.
Jump
That's
over
just
me.
that's just the body of the spider, not counting the legs.
When we reach the space age and we start to have like sci-fi spiders, it's gonna be like light year feet.
Yeah.
So Trim, my guess is you have a fear of the Spider-Verse.
I'm afraid of the wokery in it, but I'm not afraid of the Peter Parker boy.
What?
Porta potty.
Or
Peter Parker Herb.
Hey,
Uh,
cat.
Bingo.
saved by the Bengal.
Yep, saved by the
Yes.
Bengal. Well, since
Hello.
yes, Prime Knight says, "Kitty!" He's channeling Black there, isn't he?
Oi. You're not speaking now. He's not speaking now.
Oh, Kitty.
He does have his face right next to the microphone, though. So.
Yeah. Oh dear. Well,
Oh, there, almost.
since we have kind of come to a conclusion on the last short segment, let's go look at something else. So, if you enjoyed this segment from the Sons of Chardonnay podcast, please consider joining us live exclusively on rumble.com/c/Sons of Chardonnay. A special thanks to our Subscribe Star supporters who you can currently see scrolling past on your screen.